Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's December 23rd, 2024, in New Goloka, Hillsborough, North Carolina, and we are reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 58, Text 20. Okay. Shri Kalindyuvacha Aham Devasya Savitur Duhita Patimicchati Vishnum Varenyam Varadam Tapa Paramam Astita. Will anyone notice something interesting about the Sanskrit here? Some of the words in this verse look familiar to some of you, and maybe you have second initiation if you could look and tell me if you recognize some of the words in this verse. Varenyam, Savitur, and one more. Devasya. So we have three of the words in this verse. Three of the words in this verse are also in the Brahma Gayatri Mantra. Shri Kalindi Uvacha. Shri Kalindi said, Aham, I, Devasya, of the demigod, Savituhu, Savita, the sun god, Duhita, the daughter, Patim, as my husband, Itchati, desiring, Vishnum, Lord Vishnu, Varenyam, the most choice, Varadam, bestower of one's choice, Tapaha, in austerities, Paramam, extreme, Astitaha, engaged. BBT translation. Shri Kalindi said, I am the daughter of the sun god. I desire to get as my husband the most excellent and munificent Lord Vishnu, and to that end I am performing severe penances. BBT purport. As Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out, Srimati Kalindi correctly understood that Lord Vishnu, being the source of all benedictions, is the supreme husband and can thus fulfill all the desires of his wife. So we will look at Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Is the word Varenyam, most choice, implies that, quote, I am doing penance because I want the very beautiful Vishnu who can fulfill all my desires as my husband, unquote. And we're going to look at the commentary of Srila Sanatana Goswami, which is the same as Srila Jiva Goswami's. She reveals her desire immediately, worrying that he would suggest someone other than her desired man. So she didn't want to wait till Arjuna said, oh, do you want to marry someone? And I marry immediately. She says something. Out of respect, she describes her father as Devasya. This indicates that she is also a Devata. So instead of saying, I'm a demigoddess, she says, well, my father is a demigod. This indicates, I desires my husband only he who spreads himself everywhere, Vishnu, is one of the definitions of the word Vishnu, who is the best and who bestows all desires. Shri Kalindyuvacha aham devasya savitur duhita patimichiti vishnum varenyam varadam tapaha parama ashtitaha. Shri Kalindi said, I am the daughter of the sun god. I desire to get as my husband the most excellent and munificent Lord Vishnu, and to that end I am performing severe penances. So I was thinking very much here about the Brahma Gayatri Mantra, which Srila Prabhupada gave to all of his disciples at second initiation. And this mantra, of course, is very well known in India, and it's also very well known among people outside of India that are interested in Indian spirituality. And if you go to many yoga groups and like that, they'll even be chanting this mantra out loud. Yes? They'll have it written on the wall. They'll be like singing it in kirtan. It's actually not meant to be sung like that, but you'll find that you can find many recordings of this mantra. Of course, Prabhupada does list the entire mantra in his books. But this is one of these mantras that unless you've received it from a guru and unless you're actually purified, you will not get the good result from chanting this mantra. So one is, therefore, the idea is that one should be following, Prabhupada would say, at least 6 months of chanting 16 rounds, following the 4 regulative principles, before one is given this mantra. But of course we have this mantra and so many other mantras that we chant, of course the Hare Krishna mantra, but even the Panchatattva mantra and so many verses, they actually give us entrance into Leela. So I was seeing very much how the Brahma Gayatri mantra can actually give us entrance into this Leela of the Lord with Kalindi. And that really fascinated me. You know, we think about mantras as being kind of static. You know, they have this particular meaning, but actually they're dynamic. And they open up a whole world to us. They are the world and they're a portal to the world. Now, even those who haven't received this mantra, there's in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, verse 111, is often considered to be an indication that the whole Bhagavatam is a commentary on the Gayatri mantra. And we find that Srila Jiva Goswami, he says that Varenyam Bhargo equals Param in 111, and that Savitur equals Swarat. We have another great Gaudiya Vaishnavacharya who we don't quote very much from, Radha Mohana Tarkar Aspati, and he says that Savitu in the Brahma Gayatri mantra is equating to Janmad Yasya Yataha, Varenyam to Param, and Devasya to Swarat. So I thought we'd look at Bhagavatam 111, which is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janmad Yasya Yato, Navad Itaras, Charesh Abhijnat Swarat, Tene Brahma Ridaya Adikavaye Muyantiyat Surayaha Tejovari Mridam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Damna Swena Sada Nirasta Kuakam Satyam Param Dhimai. So this verse in the Bhagavatam is also considered to be like an expansion or a commentary on the Brahma Gayatri mantra, and even people who do not chant the Brahma Gayatri can certainly chant that verse from the Bhagavatam. So generally, the Brahma Gayatri mantra is understood as being a prayer to the sun god, that I meditate on the worshipful sun who enthuses me with his effulgence. And it's interesting, in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, Krishna actually says that we should worship the sun every day. But the mantra can be understood in a variety of ways. There are many places where Srila Prabhupada will say that this Savitu actually means Surya Narayana. It means the Krishna as he manifests as the Deva of the sun. There's a place where Srila Prabhupada says we can understand Savitu to mean Lord Chaitanya. This can also indicate the Jiva. So there's different ways of understanding this mantra, and the mantra can be understood as a meditation on the sun, as a meditation on Lord Narayana, as a meditation on Krishna, as a meditation on Lord Chaitanya, and as a meditation on the pure Jiva. And we have this, we have the word Bhargo, which means effulgence or energy, which also can be understood to be the Ladini Shakti of the Lord, the pleasure potency of the Lord. So one meditates on Savitur Varenyam, the worshipful, here the BBT is translating it, the most choice, the most wonderful, the most venerable Lord. And then Bhargo Devasya of that Lord, belonging to that Lord, his effulgence should inspire me. So I meditate on the great Lord, the supreme, the most choice Lord, whose energy, whose effulgence which we can understand as Srimati Radharani, we could understand as Lakshmi Devi, so forth, it should enliven me. I want to be enlivened with that energy in order to meditate on the Lord. And this mantra was absolutely required for the study of the Vedas. So in Vedic times, when children would go to the Gurukula, they would first be taught just the alphabet and basic grammar so they could read the scriptures. And then they'd be initiated into this mantra because it was understood that without chanting this mantra, you wouldn't get any fruit from studying the scriptures. So you're saying, I worship the Lord whose energy, whose effulgence enlivens me and enlightens me. So that we understand that reading the scripture, or here we're going to talk about entering into Leela and meditating on Leela, is not just a question of intellectual prowess or ability to memorize a lot of things, but is a matter of revelation. And that revelation comes by meditating on mantras that are given by gurus in disciplic succession and having the purity and the prerequisite that mantras will actually take effect. Just like even in medicine, right? Sometimes, like I remember right before my father passed away, he was scheduled to have surgery. And when he went to have the surgery, the doctor said, "You're too weak to have this surgery. If I do the surgery on you with the way your heart is right now, the surgery will kill you. You have to have a certain amount of health and strength in order to have the procedure." Everybody understands? Yes? So the procedure could have saved him, but he was too weak to have the procedure that would save him. First, you have to build up your strength, which didn't happen. He passed away a few days later. But this is the concept with chanting these mantras, that one has to have some, at least be in sattva gun and some spiritual strength in order for the mantras to help one. So I wanted to look at this particular mantra and this particular Leela and how chanting the Brahma Gayatri mantra helps us enter into this Leela. So one can also meditate on this mantra as related to Kalindi marrying Krishna, because she's calling her father Savitur, he's the sun god, and she's saying, I am the daughter Duhita of Devasya, I am this demigod's daughter, and I want you, I want Vishnu, Varenyam, I want you who is the most choice, who is the most worshipful. And then Kalindi herself, of course, is the Lord's energy. She is also a goddess of fortune, that when we meditate on her, we are enlivened to enter into the understandings of the Lord. Now, it's interesting here with this verse, she also talks about Icha, and she also talks about Varadan. And here, Varenyan is being translated, which it can be, as the most choice, the best choice. So Vada means benedictions. We chant this word in the Dhammadarastaka, right? You who can give all benedictions, the benediction I want is simply to meditate on you. So here, Kalindi is saying, this is my choice, my icha, my desire, that I want to marry the person who is the best choice to marry because he can give you everything that you want. He can fulfill all desires. This ability to make this choice, this freedom to make this choice, this free will of the living entity, we could say is the essence of bhakti yoga. That I am choosing Krishna. I am making this choice. We have an awareness that I am choosing Maya. I am not forced by Maya, right? I talk about this a lot, how Arjuna asked this question, why am I forced to do things against my will? And Krishna says, you're not really. It's your own desires. It's your own lust. It's your own choices. We feel like that in materialistic life, which is why you have religions that talk about, the devil made me do it, and this kind of mentality. This question of Arjuna's, it's a very strange question if you think about it logically. Why am I forced to do things that I don't want to do? Because then Krishna says, no, everything you're doing is actually what you do want to do. It appears that you're being forced. So it's not that Maya is forcing us, we're choosing to be in Maya. And then once we choose to be in Maya, then we feel like we're being forced. I think some analogies would be intoxication. You know, somebody chooses to drink alcohol, they choose to smoke cigarettes, they choose to take marijuana, whatever. And then that intoxicant impels them to think and perceive and act in a certain way. But they chose to put themselves under the influence of that intoxicant. So our being in Maya is a choice. Prabhupada says that actually 24 hours a day, imperceptibly, Krishna is giving us this choice to remember him or not. And also, surrendering to Krishna is a choice. Prabhupada says the living entity can get out of Maya just by desiring to do so. So Kalindi here is saying, this is my choice. I want to surrender to the Lord. And I'm showing this choice not just by saying I choose, because that's very cheap. I could say, oh yeah, I desire Krishna. You know, I desire the Lord. I mean, if you go to, practically speaking, anybody and say, you know, would you like eternal happiness and bliss? People would say, sure. I would like that. Yeah. Would you like access to unlimited knowledge, unlimited bliss forever? Oh yeah, I want that. But it's like if someone says, well, I want to be a doctor, and they don't do anything. They're just a couch potato watching, you know, the latest movies or whatever. That desire isn't very meaningful. So Kalindi's also saying that she did austerity. And it's described param. She did tapa paramam. Para means great or other or supreme. I did great austerities. I mean, any desire we want to fulfill, we have to do some austerity to get it, isn't it? Anything. You know, you want to lose some weight, you have to do some austerity. You want to be healthy, you have to do some austerity. Anything. You want to make some money, you have to do some austerity. You can't just say, you know, these people who think that you can manifest things just by sitting and thinking, you know, red car in my driveway, red car in my driveway. It doesn't work like that. One has to show one's desire. And it's interesting, the word tapaha can be translated as either penance or austerity. Penance means I've done something wrong and I want to rectify, I want to put things into balance. So for a conditioned soul who's been choosing Maya repeatedly for many, many, many births, then one has to do some austerity to choose Krishna. And again, as a comparison, if one's addicted to alcohol or drugs, you have to do some austerity to get free of it. Like those of us, you know, I've never been addicted to anything, and any of us, if we've never been addicted to anything, it's not an austerity to go without it, correct? Like, I have no austerity every day and thinking, well, I'm choosing healthy breathing instead of tobacco because I've never smoked tobacco. But if a person has been smoking, then to give it up is a great austerity. It's a great penance to put things back into balance. And therefore, for us conditioned souls, some austerity is necessary in order to actually exhibit our desire to Krishna. So we say, Krishna, I want you as my husband, I want you as my friend, I want you as my son, whatever. We have to do some austerity to show that we're serious. We also have to do some austerity to wean ourselves away from our materialistic addiction. And our main materialistic addiction is our false ego. That I am the Lord of everything. It's just this morning hearing Prabhupada say, spiritual material is very simple. Material is I want to please my senses separately from Krishna, and spiritual is I want to please Krishna's senses. It's that simple. But for those of us who are addicted to pleasing our senses separately, it's a great austerity. It feels like a great austerity. Just like the drug addict, it feels like a great austerity not to take their drug all the time. For those who are not addicted, it doesn't feel like an austerity. The Nityasiddha devotees, they don't feel like they're doing any kind of austerity. So we may ask Kalindi, who is the Lord's eternal consort, why is she performing austerity? She doesn't need to perform any austerities. So she's doing this, of course, to set an example because she's appearing in this world, that we won't think that things are just cheap like this. Now, it's interesting that Kalindi is in the Lord's pastimes in Dwarka as his wife. She is one of his eternal consorts. In fact, there are some groups of Vaishnavas who primarily worship Krishna and Yamuna. Rather than Krishna and Radha, they worship Krishna and Yamuna. And there are stories in some of the Puranas about Rasalilas where the Yamuna is in the middle. So there are some that perceive that Kalindi is the chief wife of the Lord, and the most important wife of the Lord. And so again, by chanting today's verse, or the first verse of the Bhagavatam, or the Brahma Gayatri mantra, we can meditate on this relationship between Kalindi and Krishna in Dwarka. How they have 10 sons and one daughter, and they're living in a great palace. And she's the personified river, and she's also the daughter of the sun god. Now, it's interesting because Kalindi isn't just in Dwarka. She's also in Vrindavan. There's not too many personalities who are both in Vrindavan Leela and in Dwarka Leela. What's another one? Rohini. Rohini is in Vrindavan as Balaram's mother, where she lives as a single mother. She's separated from her husband, who's in Mathura, for her own safety. And then she's also in Dwarka, where she does live with her husband. And they're raising Balaram together when he's grown up. And they have many other children as well. In fact, one of their other children, Gada, is a younger brother and is also Krishna's younger brother, and is mentioned by Srila Rupa Goswami in terms of the particular type of servitude of Krishna's children and Krishna's younger siblings. And I gave a whole class about Gada some time ago here. So Rohini is that person. She exists eternally both in Vrindavan Leela and in Dwarka Leela. You know, the pure jivas can also expand themselves. So she's simultaneously in both Leelas. And Kalindi is also simultaneously in both Leelas. Now, what's really amazing about Kalindi, or the Yamuna, in Krishna's Leela, is the Yamuna is also a particular gopi. Does anyone know what gopi the Yamuna is? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his... No. That is another great personality, Raja, yes. And there are also descriptions, I think it's in the Garuda Purana, of Krishna having a Ras Leela with Viraja in the center. But no, we have Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary on the 8th verse of Raghunath Das Goswami's Manashiksha, talks about the river Yamuna. So in that 8th verse of Manashiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami says, one should always meditate on Krishna, who is the moon of the Vrindavan forest, and the Lord of my leader, Srimati Radharani, because Raghunath Das Goswami is a devotee of Srimati Radharani. He likes Krishna because Radha likes Krishna. So some great devotees in Vrindavan, they're worshippers of Radharani, and they like Krishna because Radha likes Krishna. They like Radha more than Krishna. And some are worshippers of Krishna, and they like Radha because Krishna likes Radha. And then some like Radha and Krishna equally. So then he says that one should meditate on Srimati Radharani, who is Krishna's most dear object of love, on Vishaka, the Guru, on Lalita, the incomparable friend, on Radhakund and Govardhan, which gives the sight and love of the divine couple. So in his commentary, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about Krishna, Radha, Vishaka, Lalita, Radhakund, and Govardhan. And this is what he says about Vishaka. He says, Vidyabhushana cites the following verse, commentary on Yamunastakam, verse 1, to confirm that the Yamuna River is a non-different manifestation of Sri Vishaka. We offer prayers to the daughter of Surya, the sun god, the Yamuna River, where Lord Vishnu, Krishna, sports with delight in her waters, and whose spiritual body is Vishaka. Sri Vishaka, Vidyabhushana further remarks on the above verse as follows. Sri Vishaka is considered to be the spiritual body of the Yamuna River. Thus, by humbly offering prayers to the Yamuna, one automatically offers prayers and worship to Sri Vishaka. So Kalindi is there in Vrindavan as the Yamuna, and she's there in Vrindavan as Vishaka. who is one of Srimati Radharani's chief associates. And the Yamuna is understood, just like in today's verse, as the sun god. That Yamuna, and by the way, she has a twin brother. Does anyone know what Yamuna's twin brother is? Yamaraj. Yes. So we have some nice prayers that Srila Rupa Goswami compiled, 8 verses that glorify Sri Yamuna. May Sri Yamuna, the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god, always purify me. She saves one from entering the abode of her brother. Who's her brother again? Yamaraj. She allows sinners who merely see her to cross over the ocean of sin. Through the sweetness of her waters, she binds the hearts of unlimited souls to herself. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. Her pleasing streams decorate the Kandava forests. Her lake is filled with hosts of lotuses, around which various birds dance and sing uproariously. She neutralizes the terrible sins of those lowly souls who even just want to bathe in her water. So if one is saying, I'd like to bathe in the Yamuna, your sins are eradicated. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. She crushes the sins of those living entities who immerse themselves in her waters. She greatly enhances the flood of internal loving devotion to Krishna, the son of Nanda, and repeatedly bestows auspiciousness on those who come in contact with her riverbanks. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. She penetrates the 7 rivers of the Rig Veda, which are Sindhu, Sarasvati, Vitasta, Sutadri, Vipasa, Parusini, and Akshini, which are served by those who lives near them. She knows all of Mukunda's wonderfully divine pastimes, and with her abundant effulgence, she surpasses the beauty of a host of blue sapphires. So it's interesting he's talking about her effulgence, because again in the Brahma Gayatri we have Bhargo, which means effulgence. Bhargo Devasya. So she's, in today's verse, she's saying, Duhita Devasya, I am the daughter of the sun god. But as the daughter of the sun god, she is also effulgent, yes? If your father's a son, you're going to be pretty effulgent. And she is the energy of the Lord. So by meditating on her as the energy of the Lord, she also enthuses us in our bhakti. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. She is beautifully decorated with the jewel of the circle of Mathura around her. She increases the beauty of the path of Raga Bhakti for the Vaishnavas devoted to divine love. Sri Yamuna's multitude of waves grab and serve the feet of he who has a lotus navel, Krishna. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. She is decorated with beautiful riverbanks around which herds of cows moo happily. The Yamuna is adorned with many divine and fragrant rolls of kadamba flowers. She is very delighted by the association of the devotees of Nanda's son, Krishna. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. She resounds with the joyous cries of swans. Those who are regulated by devotion, the Vaishnavas, the demigods, Siddhas, and Kinnaras, worship her. Even a trace of the fragrance from the mud on her riverbank decimates the bonds of material birth and death. May the daughter of the lotus-friendly sun god always purify me. Her waters, spiritualized by love pastimes of Krishna, flow through the lower, middle, and higher planetary systems. Her fame itself is sufficient to burn away the core of the toughest of sins, and she remains aromatically scented with the soap extract used by the son of Nanda, the cowherd leader. So what a nice meditation that is. Right, Krishna goes to bathe in the Yamuna, and he soaps up with some kind of very aromatic soap, and then he bathes in her water, and that aroma fills the Yamuna. O daughter of the sun god, O you with beautiful waves, O rescuer from all sins, may you increase the flood of Krishna bhakti of the person who, with a self-satisfied mind, glorifies you with these 8 prayers. So this today's verse and the Brahma Gayatri mantra allow us to meditate on this pastimes of Krishna bathing in the Yamuna, sporting in the Yamuna, Right? What are some pastimes of Krishna bathing in the Yamuna? Or any pastimes with Krishna in the Yamuna? Or Balaram with the Yamuna? Dancing on Kaliya in the Yamuna. What else? Sports with the gopis, they all bathe in the Yamuna. Krishna with the cowherd boys also bathes in the Yamuna. Right? What about when Krishna first goes to Vrindavan? He's going from Mathura to Vrindavan. He's a little baby. Vasudeva is carrying him across the Yamuna. And it's said that he fell into the Yamuna because she wanted to touch his lotus feet, and Vasudeva got very frightened. What about when Krishna's going from Vrindavan to Mathura? Akrura, who looks in the Yamuna and sees this vision of Krishna as Mahavishnu and Balaram as Seshanag and all of the demigods. And of course we have Yamuna in so many songs that we sing, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, so many of our songs we sing about the Yamuna. So all of the mantras we chant allow us to enter into a meditation on Leela, just like we're chanting the Panchatattva mantra. And we meditate on the Leelas we're talking about, right? Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita Acharya, the pastimes between Lord Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, how they're arguing over the prasadam and throwing rice at each other. And Gadadhar Pandit, right, where he stops Lord Chaitanya from opening his heart, where he wants to follow Mahaprabhu out of Jagannath Puri. Srivas, where he's having all the Sankirtan happening in his house, and even his son dies, and he wants to go on with the Kirtan. So all these mantras that we're chanting, certainly the Hare Krishna mantra opens up to everything. The Panchatattva mantra, our Gayatri mantras, but these are actually the sound manifestations of these personalities and these leelas. They're not just ordinary sounds. So if we approach them properly, then we enter into a whole different consciousness and a whole different world. Yes, Drishta Prabhu. So it does seem that we're forced sometimes in the material world to act in a certain way, not by ourselves, but by others. Can you give me an example? I'm repeating that for the internet people. They can't, yeah. So you gave the example of warfare or family, and Prabhupada gives the example that maybe sometimes people can't engage in Krishna consciousness because of family obligations. Okay, let's look at warfare. It's a choice. You have the Mennonites, the Amish, the Quakers, who will not fight in war. And they would rather go to jail, they would rather be killed than fight in a war. They won't do it. So it is a choice. Choices have consequences. So whenever or you're saying family obligations, Raghunath Das Goswami ran away from his family to join the Hare Krishna movement. How many of us said to our family, I'm sorry, I'm joining the Hare Krishna movement? I mean, it took my mother 10 years to accept. My father accepted the first 10 minutes. It took my mother 10 years. And that would be considered, Vedically, that's considered abominable, that I didn't obey my mother. That's one of the ways I understand Bhagavad Gita 9:30. That I said, Mother, I'm not listening to you. I'm just going to join the Hare Krishna movement. So we always have a choice. When we choose to let others dictate to us, it's because we don't want the consequences of doing otherwise. We're looking at the consequences and we're saying, but it's always a choice. Now, sometimes it's a very bad choice or it's a very difficult choice. It's a choice that has serious consequences to go against how other people are manipulating us and pushing us, but we do always have a choice. Yes. Sometimes we may not be consciously aware of that choice. No, sometimes you don't always have 300 choices, no. No. It's interesting we talk about concentration camps. We had 3 books in the Gurukul library about that, of 3 people who made very different choices in that situation. One was called Mouse, one was called A Hiding Place, and one was called Night. And those 3 books were by 3 people who were in the same camps at the same time. And the different choices they made were very interesting. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.